Yeah.
I'm still waiting.
Hey, great timing!
It's Tuesday night.
Hang on, Did we get that? It's just come up telling us we're live. You didn't miss me intro, did you?
No, it should be in there. It should work.
Yeah.
I did. No, I got it. I got the whole intro. Mate. Fantastic.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well.
How you?
Right. Well.
Dad, right.
Yeah, Dad. Right. Well. Welcome everyone. I'm really sort of delighted to have 2-3 of my really good friends at the moment. Dav, what's happened? Yeah. Right. Right. You're very jumpy.
Yeah. Just give me a moment. I'm just setting
to me. I'll probably disappear.
Yeah. So we're on episode 10, I believe it is, but it's a bit of a new format. We don't have Kim with us this week. He's off to Glastonbury. So good luck, Kim. Have a good weekend. And it's really it's great. It's just great to have 2 of my best friends on. And Jack, I know I'm not so familiar with Jack. We've known each other for about a few years, about 2 or 3 years, Jack. Yeah.
I first seen you at one of Mark Steele's not protests, like when he was still able to like hire places out, and he did like demonstrations and stuff. I think that was the first place I seen you.
So Jack, you're quite active in the the 5G, the Mark Steele, and Save Us Now. Of Davinder, of course. Hi, Dav. Can you hear us?
Hi, I'm good.
Yeah,
mate. I can hear you guys.
Good. Dav is my friend that I've known for 40 years. Probably my best long life friend. Charlie is a great friend that I've met within the last year. This last since the lockdowns and everything, I've met a whole new set of friends, and I'm really pleased to have you 2 guys on the same chat, because I know you don't know each other. I mean, I've got a big group of friends who will know me and Dav. I've got a big group of friends who will know me and Charlie. But you guys you've briefly met each other on an episode we did a few weeks ago. But I know that you guys have got very similar outlook and understanding on life, the world, and everything. And you're not afraid to delve into the more esoteric aspects, the more kind of metaphysical things that are going on at the moment. So I'd like to lighten things up a little bit, and I'm just really delighted to have you guys here. No, it's great. So great to hear from you. Charlie, you might not know. I'm living at home in my house in Stockton. I had a contact from this 90-year-old lady just a couple of days ago. She used to be a croupier who worked in my father's nightclub. Dad, you remember my dad used to have a nightclub, Club Fiesta? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, she called me. She used to be a croupier. She's called Mildred Thompson. She's 92, and she's just moved back to. She's just moved back to Northallerton, and she called me to say, "Hi, Chris, I'm back in the area." And I thought, "Oh, that's nice. That's very sweet of her." She's been in south of France, and she's come back. And I was just thinking about how it's. I like to give you two guys a good introduction. Like, you really deserve it. I want to praise to both of you. And she was just reminding me about how when the Club Fiesta opened in 1965, it was this cabaret nightclub, and it had this gaming casino, and it had these Fiesta fawns, these like bunny girls that used to walk around in skimpy, like, sexy outfits with little bunny tails and hats and everything, and the croupiers. She was one of the croupiers, and they were even more glamorous. And what they used to do was they used to introduce the croupiers. That there'd be a big spotlight, and they would walk down these spiral staircases. Do you remember them, Dav? You
Vaguely.
Yeah, because you were a glass collector there. When you were 16. I thought you were your first job there. But they used to come down and put the spotlight on them, and they were really praised, and they were very glamorous. And it was the casino which really brought all the money in, and which would then be invested into bringing the really big names, like, I don't know, Shirley Bassey, the Beach Boys, and all those kind of big names used to come and everything. But what I was thinking about was how my father used to be such a great entertainer, and he used to do it by praising everyone. He was like, front of house, and he made all the artists who came there, feel wonderful, and he was in it to entertain people, not for the money, to entertain people. And subsequently, there was a lot of money, and so people considered that I was privileged, but I wasn't. I was privileged because I had great parents, and I had a really great upbringing, and that's just a little bit of my past.
So what was the lady saying to you then? Why did she get in touch with you?
Well, she's been living in south of France for many years. She came back about 5 years ago when I got all the croupiers together for a dinner in the Parkwood, which is a pub nearby, which I don't recommend going to now because, for one thing, they all got food poisoning. But secondly, right, they wanted me to wear a mask, so I called them out. So avoid the Parkwood, right? But there are definitely other pubs in Stockton you can go to. There's a number of them. No problem. You walk in, they're not asked. I'm not going to say who they are. They'll get picked on, but the Parkwood, not so much. Anyway, just a little side story.
Well, just a point there, Chris, before you carry on. Why don't we find out the pubs and the businesses who will allow you in without a mask on and give them a plug?
Well, I thought about that, but then would they get targeted, or
who cares?
Who cares? Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. The Fairfield pub, no problem. Walk in. So I recommend that. There's the Green Dragon, Green Dragon Yard in Stockton. That's a good one. But yeah, just go to the pubs where you can chat with your friends and say, I haven't seen you in a long time. No, I'm not getting the vax. Yeah, just talk to people, and this is what will open up our society and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's funny, I was just thinking about Dav earlier on. I don't know if you've heard about this next week. This weekend, Dav, at south of Workington. It's like a kind of a micro Glastonbury, and there's a whole itinerary of things, like sort of with meditation and yoga and all kinds of things, and apparently they've got me on.
Oh, excellent. There is a increasing understanding of the value of this stuff, and I think, look, I mean, we're going to a time that is very futuristic, but at the same time, it's bringing a lot of the ancient wisdom with it, and so it's going back to the past, but in a futuristic point of, kind of.
Yes, I understand exactly what you mean.
So yeah, so the only thing with meditation, I mean, I've been teaching this stuff for many years now, and my teachers, go back a long time. We can't use meditation as a relaxation tool, because there are lots. I mean, really, you're moving into the realm of consciousness, and within the Western worldview, there is no understanding of really what this means in its real form, and I know we want to make it lighthearted, but I think it's important to also realize that these, it's like, if you have a past memory, if you've had child abuse that you've buried, if you have, let me give you a real example that happened about 2 weeks ago. So I'm teaching, I'm dealing with one individual based in London, And so it's a one-to-one session, and it's a fairly simple practice that I was teaching her. Very simple, maybe 5 minutes. She opened her eyes and I asked her, I said, oh, how was that? And she gave me some feedback. And she goes, can I say something? I said, sure. She goes, there's a lady in my field of vision and she won't go away and she keeps staring at me. And I said, oh, is it your mother or something? She goes, no, Dav, you don't understand. It's not out there. It's in here somewhere, but I can see her. And I said, well, is it to do with your ancestry, your lineage? And she goes, no, this was an Asian woman I was talking to. She goes, it's a ginger-haired woman, and she dressed the whole thing, and it fitted an individual that may have lived in the house maybe, 100, 200 years ago. Now, if something like this happens, which is quite extraordinary, it's probably the first or second time I've come across anything like that. If something like that happens, where do they go? If a past life trauma comes, where do they go? What do they, if an existential crisis appears, where do they go? So giving people meditation willy-nilly, I think is really not a very responsible thing at this stage, because you need the context to make sense of what happens to them. And this interaction between Eastern worldview and Western worldview, science and spirituality, will be at the junction of consciousness. And quantum physics on this side, and meditation, consciousness, states of consciousness, stages of consciousness on the other side. It's that emergence is the next evolution that the universe is forcing upon us. So as much as there are concerns with it, the great thing is that people are embracing it, people are embracing it. They're beginning to realize, yep, meditation has a value. But we need the context. We need the context, and that's missing.
Right. Okay. Dav, can we come into like my first topic of interest now? I don't know, Jack. Have you got the images of the topic one available at all? If you can bring them up, bring them up. What I wanted to talk about was how nearly not there. Let's see the first one, and then we'll know what I'm talking about. So I've been noticing that since I learn that so much of what I was taught at school is false, not least the way they teach maths, the way they teach English literature, which is very political, the way their science is just so like it's more like a religion. Okay, so look at this. So the history they've taught us, I'm now having second thoughts about the truth of the official view. This is the ancient Egyptians, and look what they're doing. He's poking something up his nose, right? The amygdala, when bruised, makes slaves in Egypt more gullible and submissive to authority. Now, I don't know if it's true or not. It's a possible thing that happened. And these are just images of bizarre things that were in the middle of the 19th century.
Can I just stop you there? Do you know what that looks like in particular? You know that scene from Alien, where they've got at the end, and the alien is actually part of this machinery. It looks exactly like that. You know that thing at the end. No, just an image. But this is something. Yeah, it's like as Dav was talking, and he was saying about like. I got exactly like sort of what he meant about like sort of futuristic but historic as well. It's and it harks back to what you were saying, Chris, earlier on about Tartaria, and the thing that really
Tartaria. It's a generic term for all these ancient civilizations like Atlanta, Lemura, all these. They're considered mythical, but we don't know. Has our history been changed?
So is this a photograph we're looking at? That
okay,
go back to that one. Is that a photograph?
That's the World Fair in Paris,
Right, I was going to say, I'm
1918.
like sort of, because I can see the Eiffel Tower in the distance, and that I'm thinking that looked like London Bridge or something. No, but I think the thing that got me into, like sort of changing big style, I've always been very cynical, but I think it really brought it into context when you learn about places like Göbekli Tepe and things like that, when then they're even recognized by classical science and archaeology as being somewhere between 11 and 13,000 years old. Yet we're supposed to accept that we were basically just coming out of hunter-gathering about 5,000 years ago. And all these cultures across the entire world, you're talking about South America and everything, had already been established, obviously thousands of years by that time. So that makes you think, what are the big secrets that are being kept from us? And history, it is a lie. It is a lie, but we don't know what the thing is.
Yeah.
That's
Look, if you've had say a privilege of another cultural worldview, authentic, you will realize that what is considered to be civilization, or what's considered to be postmodern world, is really, it's just so superficial. It has no depth to it. The religious worldview has no depth to it. It's all kind of fear and survival based orientation. The worldview is created. The history is so wrong, so wrong, and I can demonstrate this very clearly. If you look at, say, something like Ayurveda, Ayurveda is the science of using food as medicine, right? But it has more to it. It's been going on for 5,000+ years. Yoga, tens of thousands of years, still working. States of consciousness. Today I was teaching someone, and I showed him 12 people that I have known in my life who you would consider to be at supreme states of consciousness. Now, this doesn't exist in an external culture. It exists within this culture, may exist within the Buddhist culture. And so when you look deep down into your own cultural roots, you will realize that most of what we consider to be modern Judeo-Christian, Abrahamic kind of worldview, most of it's been doctored around, 500-600 years after Pope Gregorian, and basically being cultivated into a worldview in which your conditioning, your teaching, your way, even the language. I mean, have you considered just the simplicity of the language English, right? So I because I can speak other languages, you look at, so for example, the word spell, the word broadcast, the word Hollywood, all of these are indicative of the subliminal way that you've been communicated with. There is spells being put upon you. You work every day in order to have a weekend, in order to earn something. And if you look at those words, weekend, days, earn, they're all symbolic. They're all symbolic of submission, of really all you're doing is being weakened, so you end up in an urn. And once we begin to...
Dav, how have we been conditioned or genetically engineered, or have we been designed as a slave race? And are they doing these resets every so often in conjunction with catastrophes?
Chris, you look at the Chinese, look at the Mongolians, look at the Indians, look at the Africans, you will see that civilizations come and they go. That's the nature of the world. That's the nature of existence. Everything that you see created right this moment will in time not be here. That's just the way it is. It comes and it goes. It comes and it goes. This is just the dominant force that is being imposed on individuals with those who understand how to manipulate the human mind. Genetic engineering isn't needed. It's not needed. We're pretty stupid. Do you know what I mean? We are very easily manipulated. We are, as long as you're not taught what the mind is, as long as you're not taught how to access consciousness, you're pretty much snookered. Because you live in the dark, you are brought up in the dark, worldviews are put upon you, and you never know how to get out of them. Because there is no mechanism unless you do psychedelic drugs, which again have been banned. Ever noticed that? Alcohol is available everywhere, nicotine is available everywhere. But you know what? You can't have a plant that's been growing for 10,000 years.
Yeah, just like
why?
Yeah, Jack.
Like, sorry, yeah, like what he's talking about. I'm just going to jump in, like DMT and things like that. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, dimethyltryptamine.
Every culture.
And what do they call it? The mushroom,
psilocybin.
The psilocybin mushroom, the famous one, the one with the red head and the yellow dots.
Fly agaric. Fly agaric. Muscura amrita.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, mosquito. Yeah, that one. I'll find it anyway. Yeah, just stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the one.
Even things like cannabis as well. You know, like it's
sure.
Maybe that's always
So teaching plants. These are plant teachers. Plant teachers have been known in every ancient culture. So if you go to South America, you have ayahuasca, you have peyote, you have mescalita, you have San Pedro, you have cannabis, you have a whole range of things, mushrooms, etc. In India, you have cannabis, you have opium, you have many of these things, but they're used as a teaching plant in order to heal trauma, but more importantly, also to come out of the mind. This is why when you get stoned, it used to be said, you know, I'm out of my mind. Because you begin to see your worldview. As long as you've got a teacher who's telling you how to use the plant medicine as a medicine. So when you come to the Western world, all of them are banned. And you ask yourself, how many people have died with cannabis? How many people have died with psilocybin?
None, zero.
But you know how many people have died of nicotine? But as soon as you question the narrative, you're considered to be someone who is, and again, the language. If you go to the indigenous tribes, which thankfully I've had a great privilege of being with many, you use it as a medicine. It's called a medicine. It's not called a drug. So the language already biased. It's already biased. It's already prejudices you. It's a drug. Yeah, DMT. We make it into a scientific word, but actually it's sacrament. It's prashad. That's it. Fly agaric.
Is it not poisonous? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's wanting to take away any kind of individuality and any kind of spiritual awareness, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Charlie's got a bad connection.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, you're right. It's been, and so when you look at civilization, when you use, say, the plant medicines with the right shamanic space, you are able to communicate with so many different levels of consciousness and intelligence that you recognize the multi-dimensional nature of this world, of existence, and you realize this fragile little ego that is fear-ridden, controlled, tyrannized with the vax, etc. It's obsolete. It's of no concern. It's of no concern. We are being brought to a point of making a decision. Humanity needs to redefine itself, and we're not going to do it unless we get a bit of a beating, and we're going through that now. So look at it from a perspective of change our perspective to it. That whatever's happening, whatever the official narrative is, it's a lie. Whether it's education, whether it's pharmaceutical, it's a lie. Just remember that. It's a lie.
Charlie, were you going to come in on something? Charlie?
No, it's it does everything, you know, it just echoes. It's like, it's almost as if we've got like a lost Well, it is as though we've got like a lost past. We're kept like sort of on a very, very simple path, on a really the most simplistic path that we can, where we're kind of led down a narrow little corridor, and everything really in existence is all outside here, but we're deliberately kept on this little path in any way possible, done with like sort of synthetic drugs and everything else, you know, not everything natural's taken away and every kind of experience that we have, you know. And it's all to do with control, and it's worrying, you know.
Yeah. So why the 6 meter separation? Why can't we congregate together? Because now is the time. This vibration is increasing, my friend. This vibration is increasing, and I can tell you categorically from my own understanding, they are panicking. They are freaking out because the way people are waking up, the narrative is falling apart on every single level, right? You saw Macron being slapped today. I wouldn't be surprised when a politician cannot walk down the street. Yeah, so I missed that.
Oh
yeah, he got yeah, he went to meet his voters, and some bloke smacked him, or I just saw it just in passing. Yeah. So do you see the
excellent
the realization? So it's like a organic process, right? So if once we understand the nature of, let's call it ego for our simplistic sense. So the nature of mind, you whack it down so it becomes fearful. Then that frustration builds up, which becomes anger. Now that anger is about to kick off. It's just early days. And as people begin to recognize what has been done to them, and the fact that much of this is irreversible, I think all hell's going to break loose. In all honesty, I think the whole, it's like a social awakening where the social contract falls apart when you realize you've been had. And why have you been had is exactly as you're saying, Charlie. It's this narrow world view. You can't look outside anything. You can't. If it's not in this world view, it ain't real. If it ain't Daily Mail, it ain't real.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think I've heard you.
Now we have to question this.
Yeah, I think I've heard you say yourself, Dav, that the anger is just like the first stage of realization. You've said, that this is the 6 steps of cognitive dissonance. But
denial.
But we need to raise our vibration. It's when, if there's like anger, then it's a low vibration. It's on a similar level to fear, and so that's when we are controllable. When we raise our vibration to experience love and happiness, then we're
no, Chris, no. We don't want to go down that kind of simplistic space, right? Fear has to be faced. Fear has to be faced. We don't just transform it. We face it, and it is in the facing of fear we discover our courage. Otherwise, how will you know courage? So meditation now becomes our tool for sovereignty. Not for relaxation, for sovereignty. So we can sit with our fear. We can see the fear for what it is. We can see whether it's real or psychological. And if it's real, then we deal with it. And we deal with it. What is the worst that can happen? You die. But once you realize that is just the other side of the coin, it's not a concern for me.
Yeah, it's like a.
So I think rather than looking at anger, greed, all of that kind as necessarily just taking into low frequency, which they do, I think it's important to not even concentrate on the negative stuff that's going on. Just ignore it. It's the only way you're going to win this war is if you turn your back on it, not if you fight it, and not if you engage in it. You've got to turn your back to it. Fuck you, ain't interested. Let me get on with my life. And that attitude is your sovereignty. That is your vibration. in my opinion. But I could be wrong, you know. What does a man with a bloke, you know, turban and a beard know?
That's my van. That's my escape. That's it. I want to be in that van as quick as possible. I want to have this independence. I don't want to be thinking about anything else other than sitting playing my guitar and thinking about the universe. You know, I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to have a plan or nothing, you know. I just want to be part. And this is why I'm so looking forward to this weekend, you know. I think because all I'd been thinking of doing was just like kind of the music part of it. But the more, you know, like when they have these things like about meditation and things like that, I think I might wander into one of those tents if I can drag myself out of bed early enough, you know, and explore a little bit more. Yeah.
Definitely try meditation, try yoga, and you know, look, creativity is the basis of life. It's the basis of the universe. And if you can play the guitar, my friend, you are already there, right? Yeah. It's a question of your inner space wanting to be creative. That's your freedom. That's your freedom. And why not? Why not?
Sorry, there's no freedom here on Facebook. I'm sending it out as far as I can. I'm getting loads of messages back in of everybody saying it's not available, not available, not available, not available. So, you know, if everybody else...
We'll restream it.
Yeah.
We'll restream it.
Yeah. If you can just start sharing
people will get it. Yeah.
Oh, well, Jack, I've just looked on my Facebook and I don't see it there. Usually when I was doing it the other week, it would appear on my feed, but it's not there. So I can't even share
Manana. Yeah. It's all going to be as relevant when it's shown, so it doesn't make any difference. Yeah. But I find that everybody who's within our community, the one thing that like knits everybody together is creativity of some kind. You know, there'll be some people who, you know, they might not draw, they might not, you know, like sort of paint or play music, but they're creative in some extent, like in an engineering sense or something like that. But everyone's got this sense of creativity and adaptability, you know, and it seems to be a common denominator within everybody who we're part of it, you know.
Yeah, if you focus on that, I think the more we focus on that, the easier this little hiccup's going to be. I mean, you know, I still expect a couple of years. And it is a hiccup, you know. It's like just, you know, it's there. Yeah. We've got to see it for what it is. We've got to ridicule it. We've got to see it for what it is, right? Yeah. Don't take it too seriously, because the more seriously we take it, the bigger it becomes.
Yeah. Which is what they want. Yeah.
It's a game. It's a game. And I'm telling you, even now you can see you're going to be free. No, you can't. You're going to be free. No, you're not. You're going to be free. You know, it's a game. And once you see it, you know what? I don't need to play it.
Yeah. But then I have like a concern for like fellow man. There's going to be a lot of people who are not going to come through this. But you know, will the human race succeed, Dav?
Right, there we go. Sorry, I've just
does it matter?
Public. So we're open on public now.
Oh,
it should be to share around a little easier now that I've opened it up to public.
All right, okay. Well, that's fine. We'll just carry on. Can we move on to Jack? Can we move on to topic number 2, predictive programming? Now, okay, there's been this Netflix a new series called Sweet Tooth, and it's about in the wake of a pandemic, lots of children are being born as a kind of chimera, kind of you know, half human, half animal, and so that's just an interesting predictive program series in itself. But the interesting thing is, in America, they've got this free newspaper called USA Today, right? And look what it says on the headlines: hybrid babies born across the USA. Now, this is the free newspaper that everybody gets free on all the newsstands of the gas stations, the shops and everything. But if you look really close at it, you'll see that it's just a mock-up. It actually says advertisement. But 99% of people are not going to see that. They're just going to see hybrid babies born across the USA. Now, I just want to put to you guys, what is going on here? I mean,
It's
is this?
normalization, isn't it? They're
Yeah.
trying to normalize certain things
Mm.
or scare you, one of the two.
Yeah,
Dav, yeah.
Chris. Yeah, look, the human mind is very easy to condition, like Pavlov's dog,
Mm.
right? So you have the esoteric in your face, which is the word Hollywood. What is Hollywood being normally used for? Wood from holly, what is it normally used for?
A pagan festival of some kind.
There are many ritualistic use where certain trees are used in order to cast spells. And all you're seeing is spells being cast. And why the hybrid stuff? We know most, if you look deep down enough, you understand that many of the so-called globalists, banksters, etc., they have hybrid blood. They've been telling you blue blood. They've been telling us right from the start. Now they're just showing you what it means. And as the whole UFO thing starts to unfold, which we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, and you see that, it's starting to unfold, as more and more of this unfolds, we will then, this is to ensure that we don't question the normality that is about to emerge, that we don't question. It's already, we've been pre-programmed. So one is that kind of programming, but there's something else as well I would like to talk about, which is predictive programming, that in every human being, we have a certain number of words that we use, like common words. Let's say there's 2,000. And every so often we'll use 2010. Those extra 10 that we use are always psychic leaks. So if you begin to use a word, say, instead of accident, disaster, and it's not a word that you normally use, it's predictive. It's predictive because we have the ability to sense both the future and the past. We have an ability to sense that. So this predictive, it would be called asymmetrical predictive languages, where you're using kind of the emotional tones within your language to identify where we will be going. So some of the predictive stuff that I've looked at back in the day, you're looking at now, we're moving into the month in which this sense of impending doom increases, which will then move into a sense of panic, which will then move into a sense of shock. How do you predict that? Is because of the language that leaks out, these emotional tones that you can collect and then analyze in a particular way, right? So there are two ways of predictive. One is conditioning you to move into a particular way. One is the human innate sense of knowing, of predictive language, of knowing. And that bit we have to...
Yeah. Well, Dad, we know that the government are being run by this SAGE committee that has this behavioral insights team, who are basically psychologists who are telling the press what to say, when to say it, and how to use language like, for example, the lockdown will probably not happen. Freedom will. They're not saying the news. They're putting the headlines are putting suggestions in our head as to what will happen. Right, like telling us what to think. That's not the job of the news. So these like behavioral psychologists are running the government at the moment, and they've got the public.
Chris, they run religions, they run the whole thing. Look, what we've got to understand is with the news, it's neuro-linguistic programming. Go and search this, neuro-linguistic programming. Yeah. You will see that there is a format that you can follow. And you can watch any news program and you will understand that it uses the same format with the emotional anchors, with the color, with the language, which is why all mainstream is bullshit. all mainstream. Just turn your back to this stuff, man. Just turn your back. That's all we can do. You know, and Chris, we all know what's happening. The question is, what do we do with this?
Yeah.
Do you want to fight it, or do you want to say, you know what, this is redundant. This is so old century. You know, we need to move on, man.
I think that's the thing, not getting caught up in it. You know, it's like the thing that I can't understand is when people make comparisons and they'll say, how come the government says this and then they say that and then that contradicts this? And you think, well, stop trying to make logic of it. We know we know where it's coming from. So why even question it? You know, like just move on and just work out what our agenda is, for want of a better expression, you know. But it's like all neurolinguistic planning. You're right. It's brainwashing. Oh, what we got here?
So it's just trying to get on the screen a bit, yeah.
That is the picture of the brain. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The neurolinguistic
And
program.
remember that the brain is not the same as the mind. Here's another piece of bullshit that they give us.
Yeah.
Right? That everything happens in the brain. No, the brain is a organ, just like your liver is, just like your heart is. Well, not quite like your heart is. And it's the mind. The mind is something very different from the brain. Yeah, and we need to understand that. And
It's like
perhaps
the
maybe
stomach.
you know,
Jack?
a whole show should be
Sorry, Jack? Yeah.
should be dedicated to this.
I was just going to say it's a bit like the stomach. So you've got there's neurons. There's more neurons in your stomach as well as in your brain. Some people don't realize that. So you've got like neurons inside your stomach. You've got more neurons in your stomach than a cat has in its brain.
That rings a bell with something. I think a thing that resonates me with more than anything else is like with quantum mechanics. You know, when everything is to do with kind of vibration and frequencies and everything, and then that has a kind of a connection with the different systems within your body. You know, where you have like sort of your renal system and your cardiac system and your respiratory system and everything kind of have a resonant frequency. You know, and it's like everything is to do with this vibrational sense. So yeah, it's like your body is a little universe. It's not the brain that's like it kind of is a control center, but it's not. It's a bit more complex than that, you know.
Yeah. It's like when you play the music and stuff. Music is played in 432 hertz, and then they've changed it from 432 hertz to 440 hertz. You know, so it's off balance. You know.
So,
Yeah. Dav?
Yeah. We have three brains. We have head, heart, hara. The Japanese harikari is the gut one. You know, when you have a gut feeling. In your heart, you have about 40,000 neuroids. The heart can think independently. The heart has an intelligence that's independent. The heart has a memory. So I can take my heart out and I can put it into someone else and they will want to meditate. Why? Because the heart captures memory, cellular memory. So if we realize it's not the brain that controls, it's the heart. And hence the electromagnetic field of our heart has been hammered so much through GM foods, through etc. And we see the heart as a pump. And even now what I'm talking about, you will find if you dig deep enough, what I'm saying is absolutely right. But this stuff has been known in my tradition for thousands of years. Now, how did they know when in India you never cut a body open? You cremate them. How do they know there are 72,000 channels of energy that flow through you when you've never cut a body open? Because we can see things if we use our consciousness and we're not distracted. And I think this realization that it's not the brain, because the brain thing falls into something called dualism, Cartesian. And so there's a bloke called Descartes. And 1700 or something, and he said, I think, therefore I am. In other words, I am my thoughts. Yeah, but we are not our thoughts. When you're not thinking, then who are you? So we are moving to that space now, outside the thought space into the consciousness space.
Yeah, the heart is it's a frequency. It's a regular pulse, and it sets a rhythm for the whole body. And like you said, that our breath is like a rhythm, and we have like a harmony with the earth, and in modern civilization, it's as if there's been a deliberate attempt to put disharmony into us by changing things to 440 hertz, by putting this 5G in the atmosphere, by putting all these electrical things that disrupt our natural flow.
Well, Ian from our group, he's the one he started off where there were members of his family who, I think he had somewhere like half a dozen members of his family who used to smoke like chimneys, and the only one who didn't died of lung cancer. So that was the thing that got him really looking into things deeply, into actually how people do contract illnesses. And what he came across through all his studies was how EMF frequency, well, like sort of different frequencies of like just what you're saying, it seemed to coincide, like sort of illnesses seem to coincide with things like the emergence of radio, with the emergence of radar, yeah.
And the 2.4
gigahertz
frequency of your Wi-Fi as well.
Yeah, Dav?
Yeah, what I would say to you, look, the human beings are supposed to die of old age or a accident, okay, not of illness, because the body is a self-healing system. When you cut yourself, you heal yourself, right? The body is a self-healing system. When you consider, so that, we were talking about conditioning, and this kind of brings things together. When you are conditioned to think that you're a machine, and if the machine doesn't work properly, you can put something from outside to fix the machine. That's the pharmaceutical worldview.
Yeah.
When you realize that you are a self-healing, self-transforming happening, you're not a separate thing from existence. You and I are like a wave on the ocean, and the ocean decides as the wave comes up and the wave emerges. Nothing to do with what we smoke, what we do, etc. Life and death are not in the hands of you and I. Life and death are organic happenings as they happen. And we are driven into this fear complex by separating us from this happening to I am a doing. I am a human being and I need to preserve myself. And this worldview actually damages us. The cause of illness can be traced down to three things: external pathogen or poison, something from outside; genetic abnormality; and 99% inflammation. Inflammation. When the mind is in stress, fear, anger, anxiety, depression, your body makes huge changes at a nervous level, at a cardiovascular level, at a biochemical level, to the point that you make your internal environment toxic, which becomes the source of inflammation, which becomes the source of your illness, be it CVD, be it diabetes, type 2, even type 1 can be traced down to a shock or cancer. But all of it begins with inflammation. So it's really important to train the mind to switch off the flight-fright response system. That's why meditation is so invaluable now.
Yes.
I think like a lifelong, I mean, everybody, well, nearly everybody these days have got like what you call it, illnesses, like background illnesses, and my lifelong one has been up until about 10-20 years ago. It was eczema. I don't know whether it was because of childhood vaccinations or just being a bit of a stressed kind of person, but when I started doing like meditation with the Brahma Kumaris, I was explaining this in the first episode we did. I was connected to this kind of cult thing. You remember, Dav, right? And it was good for me. Yeah. I did a lot of meditation, and it was good. But then about 10 years ago, I was getting eczema really bad again, and I knew I had to do something. I had to do something major. And I did lots of research, and this is when I really understood how the importance of, like Jack says, the gut. The gut has to be like clean, what we eat, because that affects us. And also, I did this thing called a liver and gallbladder flush. Cleaned my liver because the liver is the detoxer of the body, and flushed all of these stones and things out. And I realized you can't just solve it overnight. You can't just keep taking an antihistamine, a drug here, a drug there. You're never going to get there. You've got to get to the source of the problem. And I've never taken any kind of medication since, apart from when I had arthritis, and I cured myself from that. So yeah, it's a lot of it is
Everything
in the mind. Yeah.
State of mind, exactly. It's a state of mind. That's what it is, and it's everything seems to be manufactured to affect that state of mind, particularly now.
And don't you think it's important to give people the education of, one, what to understand the mind to be, two, to experience it for themselves, and three, to recognize when they are being taken down the swanning, when they're being taken down a particular route. You know, and I think this is why, well, certainly this is the reason I'm doing the work I'm doing, because I feel it is critical. Once we realize this, the game's over. The game's over. You know, we can discover our sovereignty. Chris, you said, you know, have we been brought in, you know, are we a slave race? No, we're sovereign. Every life form is sovereign. You domesticate a chicken, you domesticate a cat, you domesticate a dog, but everything is sovereign if you allow it to be sovereign, or if they claim that sovereignty. And we are now in the process of claiming it.
Well,
look
I'm
on the
claiming
right
my
side.
sovereignty. Yep. I claim my
Yes, you're right,
sovereignty.
mate.
An interesting thing that Jack brought up the other night was that he said that sometimes, and I've experienced this phenomena as well, is that you think something, and then it seems to happen. Like it pops up on an algorithm on YouTube, or it just comes into reality. So you think something, and what this I'm just not sure. Have I made that thing happen, or are our minds being read by artificial intelligence?
I think there's a strange thing. Is going. You know, have you heard of the wisdom of the crowd? You know, so you get like, well, typically, I mean, like if we're going back to kind of microbiology and that, when they were first starting to sequence the human genome, they did like a kind of a lottery or whatever it is, with the whole people in a building, and I mean how many base pairs there would be in the human genome, and I mean people were putting that figures in like 200. Other people were putting in things like 150,000, and they were putting all these random figures in. But when they averaged it all out, it came out to be about, I don't know whether it was 40,000, you know, but it actually came out that they actually got pretty damn near the same figure. So it's like wisdom of the crowd, you know. So if you were asking people, and it's almost like this subconscious thing where people, it's like a kind of, it always makes me think like, you know how like the one of the, I think the largest living thing on earth is like a mushroom, because what it is, it's like one huge organism, but it covers like an acre or something, but it's one organism. And it's the same kind of thing. It makes you think about like sort of that connectivity with people on a subconscious level that we're not even aware of, but it kind of contributes towards that group, you know.
Yeah. If we look at the analogy of the ocean and the waves, and we recognize that the ocean, the absolute, the waterness of the ocean is consciousness, and consciousness is a frequency at a particular level of vibration. As that becomes gross, it begins to form subtle forms of matter, neutrinos, and all that kind of stuff, until it becomes particles, subatomic particles, which then three forces bring together to create molecules, atoms, compounds, crystals, which then become gases, liquids, So if we see that as a worldview, then we can recognize that at the level of a genome, but even let's go further down into the level of this quantum space and this consciousness space, the Schrodinger's cat space, the space of nothingness, which is pregnant with all possibilities. That's where intention can create a pathway for a quantum reality, a quantum container, which manifests a particular reality. Okay, so the question you asked is, am I creating it, or is my mind being read? Well, your assumption is that you are separated from the interconnectedness of the universe. This is the first assumption, that I am disconnected and something is something is reading me, something external is reading me, or I am projecting something external. On the contrary, Chris, you, I, everything are embedded in this interconnected universe. And there are so many factors that are all playing the same on their own path, which creates circumstances, synchronicity, which is the universe trying to tell you its language, if we realize. Now, obviously, that can be manipulated. That can be manipulated with figures, with timing, with digital watches. That can manipulate it to think that you see the same figures over and over again. But we have to recognize the type of synchronicity it is. And I think this is really your insight into the interconnectedness of the universe that we're part of. We have to change the way we look at ourselves. And if we change the way we look at ourselves, we will change the way we look at the world. Quote for the day.
Amongst many, yeah. Hey, I tell you what, Chris, you've got to tell. Are you going to work in, Chris? Are you?
Yes, I am.
Bring
yeah,
Dav.
Friday.
Bring Dav.
Friday.
Drag him along. Drag him along.
Dav, do you want to come to a festival in Workington this weekend? Bring a tent.
Teaching this weekend. So, I tell you what, send me the link. Send me the link. What day is it?
This weekend, this Friday, Saturday.
Friday, Saturday, yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you what, send me the link. Send me the link. If I can, I will definitely try my best. But I am teaching on. I teach like a master's course to like metaphysics science. So I am a director of a school of metaphysical science and psychospiritual psychology. So I have a group of master students that I'm teaching, and I'm teaching them on Saturday. They have a workshop. So, you know, it's not something
I know,
that can come out of.
You're a busy man, Dav. Right? Have we got time to deep dive into one more like heavy duty deep dive topic, or right? Or right? Should we run?
Or sing a song.
I can sing a song.
In my heart. No, go on. What were you going to say? Go on.
Okay, right. Okay. Let's dive into one more topic, right? And then we'll round things up. Dav, we briefly touched on this topic of transmutation of the soul. Where does the soul go in the next life? And is there something about this demonic stuff that's going on at the moment, whereby these some satanic, evil, whatever race, whatever, are trying to harvest our souls and capture us into eternal cycle of servitude? Yeah. I mean, are there cycles that we can break?
Look, the first thing to realize is, again, Chris, we get trapped by our language, right? What do you mean by the soul? The moment you say soul,
a continuation of the sovereign.
You've already separated. No, hear me out. The moment you said soul, psychologically, you've separated yourself from everything else.
Yeah, I see that.
Because it's a separate entity. I would suggest, let's look at your awareness, your consciousness, representing that's what you call soul. So the wetness of the water, when the wave recognizes the wetness of the water, it recognizes it is no different from the ocean. Okay? So it is not the soul that transmigrates, It is the mental envelope that you surround this awareness with that creates the next pathway. So wherever your focus goes will determine the pathway. It will take a number of days to go through different states of consciousness, according to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, according to Sukhmani Sahib of the Sikhs, according to my own near-death experience that I had at the age of 33. So I have some knowledge and some experience. And so this transmigration, and the word is transmigration, is dependent on where the focus goes. So if we are focused on anti-vax, anti-this, anti-that, anti-the other, or we are focused on my family, or I'm focused on my beautiful house, or I'm focused on that which takes me out of this cycle, that focus at the last minute will matter. Meditation teaches us how to die. It allows us to sustain our focus on a particular object. And if you can replace that object with a sacred sound, this is where vibration now comes in again, Charlie, with the frequencies, we can then direct this focus towards a simpler pathway. This is the pathway of the Sikhs, sound-based consciousness travel. So you use sound to connect your consciousness to it in order to hold and anchor it. But that sound itself is a prescription. That sound itself contains a latent energy, which is then released, which leads you to whatever you want to call it, but we call it Jivan Mukti, which means escaping while alive. Because you ain't going to escape when you're dead, mate.
Yeah, all right, good.
Okay, I've got a good video to end on. I'll try and just screen share it, once everybody's dropped off, and it just sort of relates to what he was just saying. It's an Alan Watts video. I don't know if anybody knows.
Alan Watts. Yeah.
I've just subscribed you there, Chris, to After School. So you're now on the After School page as well now there on your Facebook. It does a lot of good videos after school. Spelled SKOOL rather than the traditional way of spelling it.
Oh yeah, magnificent stuff. Alan Watts, I thoroughly recommend. Like he does these 10-minute kind of little monologues, and it's worth listening to like one every evening just before you go to bed. It's just a beautiful way to sort of rest your mind when before you go to sleep, because the subconscious mind is very powerful. Put your subconscious mind in the right zone, and you wake up all refreshed and have a clear day ahead. Okay, so right, are there any more things that we should bring up before we bring this to an end? We've got meeting in Cramlington tomorrow, I believe, and or wherever it was, at some place. I forget where it is.
Wherever it is.
The secret.
What a giveaway!
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be doing a video, maybe be doing a live video there. Something like that. We need to talk about that.
Yeah, what we can say, can't we? It's a live stream of Mark's presentation.
Yeah, Mark Steele, and then we're going to have like a panel discussion, and that's Thursday for the people. We can't tell everyone; it's people in the know, kind of thing. And then, of course, the weekend
we can get that live stream out there. Let people know about the live stream.
Yeah.
Everybody shares it around.
I just love that little hook there from Dav. What was it he said? Meditation was teaching me how to die. You might not want to put that on the précis for the
yeah, no, that's an advanced course, that one.
Yeah.
There's an
hook line,
there's like a saying from like some philosopher or somewhere. It's let medicine be thy food and let food be thy medicine. I can't remember who it was that quoted that. I think it was some ancient.
Oh, hypocrisy.
That's the
Hippocrates or something like that.
Yeah, you got it right.
Somebody like him, yeah.
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 Can I just mention something else while it's on my mind? Wish all the best to Kim. He'll be back next week. We don't know. Yeah, we love Kim. Kim's a great guy, and he's. I think he's gone through a little bit of a difficult time at the moment. You know, we all have difficult times, and he's done an awful lot in the area of dealing with trolls, the people who were trolling Mark Steele, people who were, and he's taken them on, and he's been a bit of a target. So I think he's been targeted a little bit, and it can sometimes get to us when we're being trolled and stuff. But I've every confidence that he'll be fine. He'll be back with us, because what I noticed happening is what we're dealing with, this kind of this thing that's trying to consume us, take us over, it's tries to create like divisions between us. It tries to separate us, break us up.
Divide and conquer. You know?
Yeah, divide and conquer. Yeah, and it's happening in a very sophisticated kind of way, because artificial intelligence is learning every single thing about us. What I understand is that there are these D-Wave computers that have got quantum computers that have got our whole history, our whole everything within us. It's like a digital artificial intelligent equivalent of who each of one of us are. And so what they can do is they can do like gameplay between the dynamics between different people. So because they know our strengths, weaknesses, our trigger points, they look for ways to divide us, and they'll take an opportune time when we're feeling a bit down, or you say you've had an argument with something, and then there'll be this little man in the middle attack, which kind of like say, "Oh, you said that to me. No, you said that to me. No, you said that," and there's this division, and I've seen this. It's very clever how the algorithms do this. Even on my Google, I've noticed I'm getting attacked from ridiculous people from the past. That, you know, why have they come along? Why have they said that? And so we're under attack.
You up, Chris.
Sorry, what?
Just me winding you up, you know.
Yeah, I know, I know. But yeah, I mean, did you? I mean, what they tried to do to Mark, what they did to Kate Shemarani. I mean, with they got her son to turn against her. It's just it's really we've got to watch out for these things. And
Yeah,
I think Kim's
Brigade
been
77 and stuff like that as well, isn't it? You know.
Sorry.
You'd say like Brigade 77 and the likes of them, you know.
Yeah,
yeah.
So
trolls and stuff, you know.
Don't let them divide us. Don't let them divide us.
It was good. Lee Garrett, he caught out a troll the other day, and he sent us a message, and he's saying like, "Oh, like who's this guy?" And then I had a look, and then I searched, and it's like, it's obviously a troll, you know, because like the Facebook profile, as soon as you looked into it, it just looked suspect straight away, like it had just been thrown together. And obviously it fooled me to get in, because obviously I like accepted the friend request, and then like it just because it had like an anti, I think it had like something like it's like stop 5G banner around it or something like that. And I just thought, well, he's got to be a guy on our side, but it turned out that he clearly wasn't. You know, it was just like some sort of silly little troll who went around giving people shit.
Well, we're just not let the bastards grind we're down, man.
Just brush them off. They're nothing more than a fly in the ointment, you know. Like, who cares? Like, it's like crying over spilt milk, right? Little silly trolls, right?
We'll just form a boy band and stuff them. Yeah. I could just see the four. I could just see the four of us sitting on a stool now. You know.
It's just like cognitive dissonance as well, isn't it? That's the other thing that people just really like. You just see it on their face when it just that reality starts breaking down, and the cognitive dissonance, that look that you see. I mean, I get it all over with. Like, I get it around here, and I block the neighbours. You know, like come back from like marches or protests or whatever, and you've got like your little bits of paper and sheets and stuff. So you stick them up and stuff, let people read them. But I mean, people around here, they just kept ripping them down. So I got like really, really fed up. And then like one of these banners that I've got here behind us, I ended up sticking one outside, so you can all fucking look at it and just be like, right, goodbye, because I'm sick of you pulling down my stuff. So you've got to stand and stare at that all day now.
Can I just say?
Can
I just say another thing? We were small numbers last year. We went to Trafalgar, and there were about 40,000 of us, whereas now we've got like 1 million of us. 1 million in London, and there's 1 million.
250 if you listen to BBC.
Yeah. It must be 1 million. I mean,
where did they get 350 from? How is that even possible? Total. What a crock. You know what I mean? Just
we're growing magnificently, and we're meeting new people. We're networking, and within that new network, we find our own tribe, and we grow. And in a way, these are wonderful times. If we wake up and we ride the crest of this wave, these are wonderful, enlightening times. And
for all the misery and everything, I mean, I say this all the time. I think this last year, 18 months, however long it's been, is in many ways it's been the best time of my life. You know, it's like sort of it's for all the misery and the gloom and doom. I feel more alive now than I ever have before. You know, I feel as though I'm firing on more cylinders. Yeah.
It's a gift. It's a gift to wake you up, to wake us all up to what it means to be alive, what it means to be human, what it means to live a life, and to hop out of this predatory capitalist mixed with communism, mixed with a whole range of insane ideologies. But the good news is it's falling apart. It's falling apart. Sit back, get some popcorn, enjoy the show, and every so often stick the boot in.
Yeah. I missed the last word there. Everything went, but it must have been good. I'll watch it on the replay and go.
Yeah. It's great. Okay, so
it was rude.
I think I think this new format's gone reasonably well. I'm really pleased. Thank you, Jack, for doing the backroom stuff. Because
thanks, Jack. Great.
It takes a lot of my mind.
I'm not really that good, to be honest. Obviously, Kim seems to be the more professional one. He's got all the bits and pieces and whatnot, you know. But I'm coping.
It takes a bit of weight off my mind as well. If I'm controlling something and I'm trying to do a discussion as well. I mean, at least there's someone else to blame, you know. No, but
you've got a plan.
It sort of worked well. Yeah, you're right. It hasn't been too bad.
But I think we've got help next week. We've
the easiest way, Chris, is just not to have a plan. You know, you just like sort of turn up. It's like, Charlie, can you be there at 8 o'clock? Yeah, go on.
That's it. Just wing it. Yeah, you just turn up, wing it. Yeah, you don't need a plan.
I can always rely on you, Charlie. That's true. So, thinking ahead, we'll keep a format like similar to this, and I think we'll do it almost live, and then the topics and things that we're thinking of, we can bring the images in afterwards and do a bit of post-production and try and get it a bit more professional. We can still include your intro, Charlie, if you want. And we can have Dav as a regular if and when he's got time. And
I just find myself sitting listening to Dav, and I could just sit and listen to him all night.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Definitely. Very wise man. Very wise man.
Yeah, and I've got some very interesting guests coming up in the future. I don't know if I should give their names away yet until I've firmly got them booked in. But yeah, there's some pretty big names. And
Frank Sinatra?
No, he's dead. Oh no, is he dead? Or is he?
You've been to see what do you call them in South Shields today?
Frank Sinatra in South Shields?
No, not Frank Sinatra, man. Who was it that was in South Shields the day? Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford was in South Shields.
Is he the guy that from Indiana Jones?
Blade Runner.
Indiana Jones.
Was he?
Yeah.
Blade Runner. Yeah, it was in South Shields, was he?
Well, that was according to the Chronicle, like, but you know what the Chronicle's like, how much shit they talk.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Sand Dancer. That'll be his new film.
Sand yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. Let's
Guys, I'm losing.
a last word of wisdom from Devinder.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to put you under pressure or anything, Dav, you know.
All is good. All is good. All taken care of. Enjoy the show and focus on things that matter, not on this rubbish. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Know that you're looked after.
Yeah. Good. Great stuff.
All right, guys. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Ciao.
invitation.
Guardians 300. Good night. Yeah.
Good night, and been a pleasure speaking, lads.
Yeah.
Right,
Thanks, Jack.
I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna keep the live going while I play this thing on at the end here.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you just want to sit and watch it or not, or
What is it?
So it is. I have a
Not Nympho Night Nurse again, is it?
Is the audio coming through? Yeah. Have we got the audio?
Well, I have a sort of suggestion.
Can you hear it?
Yes. Here. Yeah.
That's right. Good. That's good. Yeah.
That before we decide either to save the planet or to destroy it,
Yeah, you just don't have to watch it. You know, you can just.
we pause for a moment.
I will do. But I'm just back in 1 minute.
Well, we can.
I
I'll
don't
have
mean
to
that
chase
kind
him
of
up.
grim
Chase him.
silence.
Well, I'm
One
going to go and
observes
play my guitar now.
when
I'm going to go in the
somebody
bathroom
says,
and have a sing song.
such and such
Right,
a
you're
famous
right.
person has just
I'll
died,
just
and you observe a moment
like
of silence in his honor,
check you out, yeah, Charlie.
and everybody frowns and thinks very serious thoughts. That's not silence at all. I mean real silence, in which we stop thinking and experience reality as reality is. Because after all, if I talk all the time, I can't hear what anyone else has to say. And if I think all the time, and by that I mean specifically talking to yourself subvocally inside your skull, if I think all the time, I have nothing to think about except thoughts. And so I'm never in touch with the real world. Now, what is the real world? Some people have the theory that the real world is material or physical. I say it's made of kind of a stuff. Other people have the theory that the real world is spiritual or mental. But I want you to point out that both those theories of the world are concepts. They are constructions of words. And the real world is not an idea. It is not words. Reality is
What's happening, Jack?
Oh, so I've entered in the full screen there, so
you'll find, therefore,
yeah, we should be able to see it.
that
now.
if you get with reality,
You're still
all
on this. We're
sorts
still
of
on the stream. I
illusions
can kick
disappear.
you back out if you're not bothered.
and I will mention several
Yeah, I'm just happy
illusions
sitting watching
that
this.
have
I mean,
not
I've listened to this a
this
thousand
kind
times.
of existence. Let's begin with some very down-to-earth ones, like money. Money is a very useful method of accounting. It is a measure of wealth in the same way as inches are measures of length and grams measures of weight. You cannot eat money. You could have a fantastic quantity of dollar bills and stock certificates on a desert island, and they would be useless to you. What you would need would be food and animals and companions. Money simply represents wealth in rather the same way that the menu represents the dinner. Only we are psychologically perverted in such a way that some of us would rather have money than real wealth. But you know, you cannot drive in 5 cars at once, even though they be Cadillacs. You cannot live simultaneously in 6 houses or eat 12 roasts of beef at one meal. There is a limit to what one can consume. So that's one of the sort of confusions I'm talking about. Another is that we confuse ourselves as living organisms with our idea of ourselves. That is to say, with a conception of myself which is called the personality or ego. That is what we have been told we are. And it's an extremely crude and limited conception of oneself, of the actual unique living organism. And we get unhappy because we're thinking of ourselves in this way, because we think, well, gee, I'm going to die. I once talked to a woman who came to me and said she was afraid of death. And we went into it in a long conversation. I said, what are you really afraid of? And she thought it over, and he said, do you know, what I'm going to be afraid of is what other people are going to say. They're going to say, poor old Gert, she couldn't last it through. Because you see, who you think you are is entirely dependent on who people have told you you are. You're not that. Then another thing that bothers us is time. Most people nowadays say, I have no time. Of course you don't. Because you are not aware of the present. You know, the present is represented on your watch by a hairline that is as thin as possible as is consistent with visibility. And so everybody thinks the present is, instead of, now, the present is the only real time. There is no past, and there isn't a future. And there never will be. We think ordinarily of the present as an infinitesimal point at which the future changes into the past. And we also do a terrible thing. We imagine ourselves to be results of the past. And we're always passing the buck over our shoulders, like when God approached Adam in the Garden of Eden and said, hast thou eaten of the fruit of the tree whereof I told thee thou shouldst not eat? And Adam said, this woman thou gavest me, she tempted me, and I did eat. And God looked at Eve and said, hast thou eaten of the fruit of the tree whereof I told thee thou shouldst not eat? And she said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And God, out of the corner of his eye, looked at the serpent. The serpent said nothing. So you see, we're always passing the buck. And don't realize that the past is caused by the present, as the wake of a ship flows back from the prow. Now, the wake doesn't drive the ship any more than the tail wags the dog. But we've all got excuses. When my mother had a fit while she was carrying me in the womb, they didn't bring me up right. And then they go to the mother and say, how is it that you could have been so irresponsible with your children? And she says, well, it was my parents who didn't bring me up right either. And so everybody passes the buck. But the truth of the matter is, it all begins here. This is where the creation begins. And you're doing it and won't admit it. Because, of course, you're all God in disguise. Jesus found that out, and they crucified him for saying so. So this is a very odd thing for Westerners to understand, and particularly for Americans, because we are so fixated on the future. When we say we want to put something down, we say it has no future. Well, do you? Much better to have a present. Because if you don't, it's useless to make plans, because when they work out, you won't be there to enjoy them. You'll be thinking of something else. So we realize that we are living out of now and throwing the past behind us.